16 points. James gets inside for the deuce, and he lands awkwardly. LeBron James is down.
LeBron James drove aggressively to the basket, weaving through defenders before finishing a clean layup. But what made the moment unusual wasn't the play itself, it was what happened immediately after. There was no whistle, no foul call, just silence from the referees. Then, seconds later, LeBron suddenly dropped to the floor, grabbing his arm as if he had been seriously hurt. First it was his right arm, then his left, and then both at once, almost as if even he wasn't sure which one was supposed to be injured. The cameras captured everything in real time, and the reaction across NBA media was instant. Clips of the moment spread rapidly, with many viewers pointing out how the sequence looked more like a dramatic reaction than a natural result of contact. The shot had already gone in cleanly, and there was no obvious foul that justified a whistle. Yet LeBron's reaction became the main focus, raising eyebrows across the basketball world. This led to a bigger question that quickly divided fans. At this stage of his career, does this kind of flopping hurt LeBron's legacy, or does it not matter, given everything he has already achieved? It's a debate that touches on perception as much as performance. Some see it as unnecessary for a player of his stature, while others believe moments like this are insignificant compared to his overall impact on the game. Breaking the sequence down step by step only adds to how strange it felt. LeBron attacked the rim, completed the play with ease, and with no foul called, the moment should have ended there. Instead, the delayed reaction, falling to the floor and clutching his arms, shifted the spotlight entirely, turning a routine basket into one of the more talked about.
I don't know where he got hurt to the point that caused this reaction. I think he faking, bro. I just called it. I called it. He reached for one arm and then reached for the other arm, so he just grabbed both of them. He didn't know which one to play it off with, so he grabbed both of them. Look at him.
LeBron James suddenly dropped to the floor right after the play, grabbing his right arm tightly and making a pained expression as if something serious had happened. Moments later, he switched to holding his left arm instead, almost as if reconsidering where the contact occurred. Then, in the most confusing part of the sequence, he grabbed both arms at the same time. A teammate rushed over as LeBron called out that he had taken an elbow during the drive, giving some explanation to the reaction, although just seconds earlier it had looked unclear what exactly had caused the pain. Trainers quickly came onto the court and began assisting him toward the bench, while the medical staff checked on him with urgency. For a brief moment, it genuinely seemed like a real injury situation. The arena stayed tense, and the broadcast shifted away as the crowd buzzed and players reset for the next possession. But what happened next is what truly sparked the reaction online. Just seconds after being helped off the court, LeBron was suddenly back on the floor, ready to play again. That quick return following such a dramatic sequence turned the moment into a major talking point, with many questioning what they had just...
Last night, drives it against Jokic. Jokic makes zero contact with him. LeBron makes the layup, okay, no foul called. And then he falls to the ground, writhing in pain. The problem, of course, with the faker is that he wasn't sure which arm to grab, which arm was hurt.
That's the moment when everything exploded online. The clip spread across social media almost instantly, and the reaction from NBA media was fast, sharp, and unusually unified. In most basketball debates, fans and analysts take different sides, defending their favorite players. But this time, the response felt nearly unanimous. One analyst summed it up bluntly, saying LeBron James seemed unsure which arm to sell, so he ended up grabbing both. It was a simple line, but it landed perfectly because it matched exactly what viewers saw in the replay. Other commentators didn't hold back either. Some suggested that the reaction looked exaggerated, almost like an attempt to draw attention after the made basket rather than get back on defense.
The comparisons quickly turned more humorous and exaggerated, with one analyst joking that the fall looked softer than a small dog jumping off a couch. It was oddly specific, but it captured how light and harmless the contact appeared. No one watching the replay thought it looked like serious impact, which is exactly why the moment became so widely discussed. It wasn't just dramatic, it was confusing. What made the situation even bigger than just one play was the history behind it. Moments like this haven't been isolated throughout LeBron's career. They've appeared from time to time over the years. Because of that, fan reactions have shifted. Now, when LeBron hits the floor, the first response often isn't concern, but recognition, as if people feel they've seen similar moments before. That's a unique and somewhat strange position for a player of his caliber. Because when it comes to pure basketball ability, there's no debate. LeBron James is undeniably one of the greatest players the game has ever seen.
Another commentator didn't hold back either. He described LeBron as someone so desperate for attention in that moment that he exaggerated the injury after making the shot, just to avoid getting back on defense. And the comparisons only got more ridiculous from there. One analyst joked that the fall looked soft.
That's the moment when everything exploded online. The clip? When you really think about it, LeBron James's greatness is undeniable. His longevity alone is almost unheard of, still performing at an elite level deep into his career in a league that constantly wears players down. He holds the all-time scoring record, his assist numbers are remarkable for someone of his size, and winning 4 championships with different teams places him in rare company in NBA history. That part of his legacy is already solid and doesn't need any extra drama to stand out. But moments like this shift the conversation. Instead of focusing on another great play, fans end up replaying the clip and questioning what they just saw, like trying to figure out which arm was actually supposed to be hurt. That's why the flopping discussion around LeBron has never really gone away. Over the years, supporters have defended it from multiple angles. Some argue that because he attacks the rim so often, he naturally absorbs a lot of contact. Others say referees hesitate to call fouls due to his size and strength, which forces him to exaggerate just to get a whistle. There's also the common defense that flopping isn't unique to LeBron, that players across the league do it, and he simply gets more attention because he's the biggest name in the sport. And to be fair, there is some truth to that argument. However, those defenses become harder to maintain when a
your king. This is your GOAT. A dude that is so desperate for attention. A dude that is so desperate to be noticed that he pretends to be hurt. He can't get back on defense after a made shot because he fell on his arm and got a boo-boo? And I struggle to say LeBron James got a boo-boo because all he did was softly fall.
And then, just seconds later, LeBron James was jogging back onto the court as if nothing had happened. That quick turnaround only added fuel to the reaction. Meanwhile, the Los Angeles Lakers ended up losing the game to the Denver Nuggets, which made the moment even more noticeable. At this point, the Nuggets have become a consistent problem for the Lakers, and every matchup between these teams carries visible tension. Right in the middle of that rivalry is Nikola Jokic, a player whose style makes the flopping conversations stand out even more. Jokic plays through constant contact, dominates physically, controls the pace, and rarely ends up on the floor in dramatic fashion. He doesn't need to exaggerate. He simply plays his game, and more often than not, his team comes out on top. That contrast only amplifies the scrutiny around moments like LeBron's reaction. But the bigger story goes beyond just one strange sequence in a game. It connects to a larger discussion that NBA media has been having for months. LeBron is now 40 years old and still earning around $50 million a season, which is remarkable on its own. At the same time, the Lakers are trying to shape their future around Luka Doncic, a superstar they reportedly acquired in one of the most shocking moves in recent league history.
That decision brought excitement, but it also raised serious questions about fit and direction. The reality is simple. Both players are individually brilliant, but combining them into one system isn't seamless. They both thrive with the ball in their hands, and building a balanced offense around two dominant playmakers presents real challenges. That tension between present success and future planning adds another layer
to the bench, and no one's paying him any mind, of course, because everyone knows he's faking.
Nothing.
And then he comes right back on the court like 10 seconds later.
Oh, thank God he's all
Yeah.
right.
Oh!
You know, I was definitely worried about LeBron.
Yo, it's so comical now that he don't even try to hide it. Yo, flopping on the ground like a flounder. Yo, not sure which arm to grab, so he grabs both of them.
And then, just seconds later, LeBron James was jogging back onto the court as if nothing had happened. That quick turnaround only added fuel to the reaction. Meanwhile, the Los Angeles Lakers ended up losing the game to the Denver Nuggets, which made the moment even more noticeable. At this point, the Nuggets have become a consistent problem for the Lakers, and every matchup between these teams carries visible tension. Right in the middle of that rivalry is Nikola Jokic, a player whose style makes the flopping conversation stand out even more. Jokic plays through constant contact, dominates physically, controls the pace, and rarely ends up on the floor in dramatic fashion. He doesn't need to exaggerate, he simply plays his game, and more often than not, his team comes out on top. That contrast only amplifies the scrutiny around moments like LeBron's reaction. But the bigger story goes beyond just one strange sequence in a game. It connects to a larger discussion that NBA media has been having for months. LeBron is now 40 years old and still earning around $50 million a season, which is remarkable on its own. At the same time, the Lakers are trying to shape their future around Luka Doncic, a superstar they reportedly acquired in one of the most shocking moves in recent league history. That decision brought excitement, but it also raised serious questions about fit and direction. The reality is simple. Both players are individually brilliant, but combining them into one system isn't seamless. They both thrive with the ball in their hands, and building a balanced offense